Noche UFC. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn the post notifications on, and make sure you share the video too. And also note, I'll be live for the entire UFC Noche card Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And let's get into the first fight of the night. We have the Ultimate Fighter welterweight finale going down. Rodrigo Sezinando versus Danil Donchenko. This fight rescheduled, was supposed to take place at 319. We get it here. Now I'm picking Donchenko to win. I was going to pick him in the lead up to 319. And I like the ceiling that he seems to have as a potential prospect to watch. Pretty impressive striking skill set. Definitely an aggressive style, but also has accuracy on his shots. And even though he throws a lot of strikes, does seem to have good precision on his shots too. I like the way that he's able to pressure forward and, kind of commit to the hard blitzes, but win the key striking battles. And if it gets testy and close, he also brings some powerful Muay Thai skills, which I like his elbows. I like his knees to the body. I know he was training in Thailand previously, and I know that Fiziev was part of the same crew out of Tiger Muay Thai. And I feel like the stand-up game that Donchenko has is pretty legit. And I'm not feeling that Cezinado matches the striking. And I don't necessarily feel like he exceeds the grappling. Cezinado definitely has a ground game and he can hit some key takedowns, but there's an element to Donchenko's aggressiveness and pressure. It's going to make it hard to land takedowns on him. Like, I feel as though Cezinado is going to need to absorb some big shots and even get some forward pressure going himself if he's to take down Donchenko. And I just don't really see it. Donchenko also got good kicking skills, fast hips. Normally, guys with very good hips, it kind of meets in the middle with quality takedown defense. And I feel like Donchenko's got the goods here. Showed knockout power and aggressiveness on The Ultimate Fighter. Seems to have a well-rounded game with a very violence-based style. I'll be honest, in recent years, if Donchenko can win The Ultimate Fighter, this could be one of the most exciting prospect to be signed to the show in a very long time. Obviously, Morales, who won, is an ex-UFC fighter that won for the flyweights this same season. He seems interesting too, but like Donchenko's 24. He could have a bright future. We haven't seen somebody from Tough really burst on the scene and become a contender. Obviously, there was Brian Battle who was there. And I'm talking about recent Tough. Obviously, olden days Tough. They had some savages become world champions. But I feel like Donchenko could be one to keep an eye on. I think Cezinado is a durable Brazilian who has some power, good stance, ability to switch. I would say actually pretty fluid with his movement and offers some risk factors in the striking on the opposite side. Definitely has some danger to him. Control from top position, but I don't see him neutralizing Donchenko. If anything, I think Cezinado could make it a tough fight and survive off the grit. There is an element, though, to Donchenko's aggressiveness. I'm looking at his resume and I'm thinking we got 7 KO wins as a pro. I got the knockout in the Ultimate Fighter semifinal. He might be chinning Cezinado in this one. I think Cezinado could get clipped. Never been finished before, though, and there is an element to Cezinado's build that just kind of whispers to me he's a durable fighter. So I could see Donchenko slicing him up, probably some nasty elbows that cause a cut, and winning in a clean decision, but back and forth. I don't think Cezinado's getting knocked out in a minute, but I do think Donchenko's live for the KO at some point in the fight, but I think Cezinado's got some grit to him and he'll survive. He's a good prospect too from Novo and Yao. It's not like Cezinado is some scrub. Both of these guys are highly talented prospects. I just think Donchenko's ceiling is higher, more aggressive and violent style, and I think it's more effective. I'm looking forward to seeing these two fight inside of the octagon. I think Donchenko is going to get the win, though. Odds for the fight, Donchenko, a minus 235 favorite. At open, he was minus 250, so odds similar. Plus 200 for Cezinado on the opposite side. You're playing with fire if you're going an over 2.5. Over 1.5 at minus 180. I lean towards the side of possible because I respect Cezanato's abilities too. Like I could see him getting caught, but I could see him then clinching up, trying to force a takedown. And even if Donchenko defends and lands some shots in the clinch, I think Cezinando could at least recover from a couple of big Donchenko moments. But I think KO is a possibility in the second or third round for the side of Donchenko. But I feel as though the right call would be, money line it on Donchenko or put him in a parlay if you're looking to throw down. I think that KO is a possibility, but decision is also live because Cezinado is a pretty durable Nova União prospect that wants it bad. And there's an element to a guy that's got heart, and I think Cezinado's that type. But I do think Donchenko, better fighter, more aggressive fighter, and I think the more sound striker with a violent style to keep an eye on. So Donchenko to get it done. I'll say KO or decision. I like the chance of a KO, though. I like an elbow on the inside, slicing up Cezinando in some big shots, maybe in the second or third round. But if it goes the full three, Cezinado's frame tells me he can eat shots. So we'll go with Donchenko to pull through. Next fight, we have the ladies going after it. We have Elise Pereira versus Montserrat Rendon. This is not Aileen Pereira. This is not the sister of Alex Pereira. Just so you guys know, if there's confusion out there, I could see it easily being had. No, this is not Alex Pereira's sister. Elise Pereira, I'll pick her to win in this spot, but she's 19. She's so young and she only has 5 pro fights. So it's one of those matchups where, you have 2 fighters with, a lack of experience, but you got one who's 19, you got one who's 36 years old. I have to favor the 19-year-old prospect to find a way. But there's that grown-up strength that worries me a little bit with Montserrat Rendon. Rendon does have an okay ground game. I mean, she competes in jiu-jitsu. She's not like an exceptional grappler, but she's got takedown threats. Her striking is okay. It's a little bit sloppy, to be honest with you. She's kind of got some slower straight punches, but sometimes slow shots land because of the weird rhythm. Hands come down. Like, it really is a flawed striking style. And obviously she has a bit of physicality on the mat, but I'm not blown away with it. On the side of Elise Pereira, I see probably a bit more volume and accuracy with her stand-up. Has a Thai striking style, kind of like a Brazilian Thai style to her game. Can rip some punches on the inside. Feel like she can mix her shots up well with multi-shot combinations landing for her. Seems to have a decent ground game, seems to have some takedowns. She's definitely a big girl, 5'10". It's just there's that back of the mind worry that she has fought literal nothing but cans, dude. She has literally just beaten cans. This woman here had numerous losses in a row. At one point, she was like 9-1-1. And then this girl was, supposed to be all right, not happening. 0-0, 1-6, 0-1. To be fair, this girl who was 1-6 fought like 4, and including Pereira, 4 like UFC fighters on her, losing streak. So I guess, to be fair, not as bad. She's fought some decent op. But what I'm saying is, like, Elise Pereira is literally beating no good opposition, and now she's getting a chance in the UFC. Montserrat Rendon's a pretty flawed prospect, and she's 36. She's got the, hey, it's Noche UFC, and she's Mexican on her side, but I'm not just going to pick her for that. I mean, there is the element of Montserrat that she's pretty tough. I definitely think she could make it a fight. If she fraud checked the 19-year-old, would I be absolutely shocked? Probably not, but like almost double the age here. I have to favor the youth. I have to favor the size, but I would definitely say on the gambling side, it seems just like a bad investment to pick between a girl who's in her teens and a woman who just really hasn't shown much. Also, Montserrat hasn't fought in a bit. A year and 5 months since that Zelensnyakova loss. I think that Elise Pereira can do enough to win. I'm going to go towards the prospect. I'm going to go towards the youth. I'm going to go towards somebody that might have upside. And goddamn, we need it in this women's bantamweight division. We need somebody like Elise Pereira to burst on the scene with a fucking impressive W. I'll lean towards Pereira being ready for 3 hard rounds and getting it on the cards. But Montserrat could land some shots. Like, I'm not wowed by Pereira's skills. But to be fair, I mean, if you watched her most recent fight on YouTube, it's literally somebody recording off their iPhone. You're seeing it from a distance. It's not like you even have a high quality broadcast. And there's an element to that that means like Pereira really isn't fighting in marquee matchups. It's not like she's an LFA champion or, a CFFC or anything like that. Like, she didn't fight in Invicta like Montserrat Rendon did. But I'm going to say Elise Pereira can do enough. I'm going to say she gets it. I'm going to pick the size. I'm going to pick the youth. I'm going to pick the side of potential. She's a minus 151 favorite. At open, she was 4-1. A lot of money has come down on Montserrat Rendon. I get the thought process, but also Rendon is not good. So, to want to throw your money down and view it as like a quality investment, you're picking volatility. You're hoping that Elise Pereira is a busted prospect. She might be, but I'm going to pick her to win and say that she's not. Over is minus 250. I'm not even crazy about the over here. I think Elise Pereira can mix it up on the feet fine with Montserrat Rendon. I wouldn't be shocked if her physicality leads her into top position. I don't think Montserrat Rendon is some masterful grappler. I mean, look at her UFC fight. Split decision with Tamaris Vidal, and then the loss to Zelensniakova. If Pereira's got some potential, if she really is a blue chip prospect, I think she should win. But red flag around her being 19 and literally only having fought cans. But I will pick Elise Pereira nonetheless. Next fight on the card, we got Alessandro Costa versus Alden Coria. I'm excited to see Alessandro Costa back. I'm picking him in this fight. I like Nono Costa. I've been a fan of him since he burst on the scene. I mean, the loss to Albazi was tough, but he's a good talent. I like Alessandro Costa a lot in this flyweight division. He's primed. He's 29 years old. He's been out for a long time, a year and 4 months, but like he beat the shit out of Kevin Borjas. And I think that win aged fairly well. Borjas fraud checked Ronaldo Rodriguez. And then, he lost to Suma Derji in China, but still went the full 3 rounds. Like, I think Costa absolutely destroying him demands some respect. Chopped at the legs beautifully, then got the finish on the ground. Alessandro Costa is pretty legit. And on the opposite side, Coria is a decent prospect. I mean, he's got some game, light bouncing, striking, good multi-shot combinations, slips and rips pretty well on the inside. I would say that he's got good speed too in his hands. Nice straight shots, pretty tall at 5'8" for the flyweight division, and does work with a good rhythm. And I feel like he finds shots nicely and seems to have a God-given gift to some power with also a good ability to like find the shots with good timing, right? Seems like decent reflexes. Now, to be fair though, in moments he can be a little bit hittable. Alessandro Costa, I think, could definitely catch him with some big shots. Costa does have nice power in his left hook and his right hand. He'll rip big bombs. He'll throw heavy leg kicks. He'll look to impose his will with grappling. I think that Alessandro Costa is a bit too much for an Alden Coria coming in here with, a big chance to burst on the scene, getting this call, but Alessandro Costa is pretty good. That's a hard UFC debut. 2-2 fighter, but like the losses that are Amir Albazi, who's in the top 6, and to Steve Erceg, who's in the top 10. So he's only lost to some of the best at flyweight, and then clear win over Borjas and a W over Jimmy Flick. And to be fair, I mean, the Jimmy Flick win, it can mean nothing, but it also means something because he did fuck up Jimmy Flick. And Jimmy Flick, gave Matt Schnell a tougher fight. And then destroying Kevin Borjas. Like, Alessandro Costa, I see him pressuring forward on Coria and probably outworking him. I mean, I'm looking at this loss. I watched this Trujillo fight, and Coria kind of just got pushed around. And that dude was 5'2". Because you might be like, yo, but 5'8" versus 5'4". Listen, Alberto Trujillo is miniature, bro. He's fun size, all right? And he backed Coria up, and he was able to win that decision. I think that Alessandro Costa could land some nice power shots, could definitely back him up, could mix in some takedowns. Listen, Costa's style, though, is violence. Like, he is a finisher first, and he'll look for finishes. He'll throw flying knees. He'll be aggressive with big combos. I think there's a chance Costa could chop apart Coria and stop him. We don't know how Coria even fares towards this level. I'm going to say Alessandro Costa should be good to go. It's either a dominant decision or a bit of a volume and accumulation of damage-based TKO. I think both are live possibilities. I like the side of Alessandro Costa doing damage, though, for sure. I really am going to say watch the leg kicks because Costa can rip that calf really, really well, and he throws big power shots and overwhelms opponents. I get it. He's been out for a bit, but I think he's going to come back with a bit of a, sense of urgency. He's 29 years old. in his prime right now, 4 UFC fights in, this is going to be his 5th. I can't go with a guy on a debut against him either. It just, to me, it doesn't make sense. And I think we're going to see, the Alessandro Costa level. And also, we have to mention, Edgar Suarez was originally Alessandro Costa's opponent. Coria stepping in on short notice. Big opportunity for him, and I respect him taking the shot, but I think he's outmatched here against Costa. That Suarez fight would have been sick. Minus 450 for Costa, plus 350 for Alden Coria. I think this is an Alessandro Costa fight. Now, as far as the over-under, I don't love it. I think Costa could potentially be something you parlay up. I do think he's live inside distance. I do think he's live KO. I think Alessandro Costa, aggressive style with power against a guy that seems to be relatively good, but raw and unproven. Can't pick that. I think that Alessandro Costa does his thing and gets a dominant win. Costa for the W in this spot. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card. We got Zach Reese versus Cedriquis Dumas. I'm going to pick the side of Zach Reese. I'm going to pick the side of Zach Reese because I think he's more disciplined. I think that he's better on the ground. I think that his striking be a little more powerful. Cedriquis Dumas is consistently having legal troubles. I mean, shit, he wasn't able to fight recently because he couldn't get a damn ankle monitor off so he could go to the event. Unfortunate for Cedriquis Dumas. And now he gets a big chance here against Zach Reese, though. But I think Zach Reese should be able to win. It's just you have to worry with Zach Reese a little bit because, his chin is a little testy maybe. In the back of your mind, it's like, got slammed bad by Cody Brundage. Then Azamat Bakoyev killed him. But Azamat Bakoyev is like a legit problem in the UFC middleweight division. Obviously, the Brundage loss sucks. And Cedriquis Dumas beat Cody Brundage on the ground. But let's just, let's not compare MMA math. Stylistically, I look at Zach Reese and I think, okay, he's got really heavy kicks. Kind of like a Luke Rockhold in the kicking department. Hands are okay. Has a bit of power, but he's not the heaviest handed guy. But there's speed. Cedriquis Dumas has good straights from the outside, susceptible to control on the ground by certain opposition, susceptible to submission threats, but there is opportunities to catch him slipping, striking. He does have a habit of when the pressure is put on him, he starts to dip, he starts to duck, kind of starts to turtle up and leave openings. The thing with Zachary Reese that worries me is over-aggressiveness and getting caught in some weird position, but I think Zach Reese is, simply put, the more fine-tuned fighter. Zach Reese should have better grappling. He should be in better physical condition, and I think he's going to have the faster strikes. Dumas is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and he does throw decent shots from the outside, but we've seen him tuned up on the feet pretty bad. Last fight, stopped against Mikhail Olegchaychuk, but that hasn't really aged badly. Olegchaychuk just destroyed GM3. And to be fair, it was a bit of an early stoppage on, the side of Dumas. I feel like they could have let him keep going. But I feel like Zachary Reese can take his ass to the ground. And I think Zachary Reese could threaten with a sub. I'm looking at Dumas and I'm thinking, this kind of gives me remnants to the fight against Josh Fremd, where Dumas was subbed up. I could see Zach Reese doing the same thing to him. I think Reese is live to find the submission. But I will say, minus 275, Zach Reese, don't really love the odds. Minus 225, so it's come down a bit. Dumas plus 190. I feel like Zach Reese can pull through. I just think he's got to be more committed to the game. I feel like his jiu-jitsu is better. I think his wrestling's better. If he can get on top of Dumas or take Dumas's back, I think he could find the kill. Over a round and a half, plus 140. Under a round and a half, minus 160. I'm not into it. I think Reese inside distance is live, though. I think Reese is live for a sub. If you think of Reese's game outside of the UFC, he's got only 2 subs, but you got to look at what he did, right? He got this sick armbar here. I don't know, man. Aaron Phillips at one point wasn't he in fucking Bellator? Am I thinking of somebody else? I swear to God, he was in Bellator. Am I crazy? No, he was on The Ultimate Fighter. That's Aaron Phillips. I think Zach Reese can win, but he is a little scrubby at times. He didn't knock out Jose Medina. That's not the best look for me. But then again, Jose Medina has an unreal chin. You see where I'm going with this one? Cedriquis Dumas is a weird case. He beat Dennis Tululin pretty clearly by a decision, beat his Aitar, beat Brundage. Rizzy Boya fucked him up, and Olegchaychuk. To be fair, the recent losses for Cedriquis Dumas ain't bad. Recent losses ain't bad for Cedric Dumas. And looking at Azamat Bakoyev, Chinlam, and Brundage, the Brundage loss is just a disgusting stain that will forever sit on the resume of Zach Reese. And I don't think Reese has high caliber potential, though. Cedric Dumas could mix it up with the hands. If he's stopping takedowns, why do I have this fucking picture in my mind of Zach Reese coming out aggressive, trying takedowns, getting them stuffed, and then Cedric Dumas thudding them with some shots and like Reese getting melted by ground and pound and Reese getting embarrassed on the feet. Like I have this bad feeling that even though Cedric Dumas is not the most noble of gentlemen, he still loves a good fight. And this ain't no altar boy. This is fist fighting. Cedric Dumas likes to scrap, and he can mix it up with his hands all right, and he's fairly well-rounded, and I feel like Zach Reese can kind of get bitched a bit. My God, am I about to do the same thing I did with the Tybura Deliha fight from last week? The more I talk about it, the more I see Dumas winning. It's just, is his mind in it? Is his head in the game? That's my biggest worry. You saw him post on Instagram. He's in the gi. He's ready to go. Zach Reese is really not good. Zach Reese is really not good. Even like last time, he beat Dushko Todorović, but Dushko is really not good either. His wins recently are Jose Medina, Dushko Todorović, and a completely washed Julian Marquez. And he caught him with a big shot early. To be fair, Cedric Dumas beating Tululin, Azaitar, and Brundage. Not that much better, but there's still an element to it where I'm like, I still respect what he can do. Am I talking myself into a Dumas call, guys? This is what happens. Only 13. I don't get why. Cedric Dumas could have the juice in this spot. I could see Reese on his back. I could see Reese wilting a bit. Reese could catch him, but he might get beaten. Wow. This breakdown, it's coming to me before my eyes, and I'm seeing things differently as I talk about it. Very interesting aspect of breaking the fights down. When I start telling you guys things, then I start seeing a picture, and I'm like, wait a second. There's a flaw in that picture because Dumas can throw some hands. Zach Reese isn't that good at wrestling. Zach Reese can be taken down. Dumas can wrestle a little bit. Dumas loves a good fight. Zach Reese might melt under pressure. Oh, my God. I might be going with Dumas to pull this off, actually. I might see it. Dumas catching Reese with some punches, making him uncomfortable, stopping takedowns, landing some shots in the clinch, getting on top of Reese, Reese trying submissions and failing. Reese getting beaten on the cards even. Damn, son. All right, I'm staying settled in self, all right? I'm gathering myself. I'm going to stick with my original lean of Zach Reese, but I want to see the weigh-ins for this, and maybe there's an energy shift. But I do think there's an element to it that Zach Reese is ready for 3 rounds, and Dumas doesn't push the heaviest pace, and it's not a guarantee he gets a knockout, and it's not a guarantee that Reese needs a knockout. I guess I'll stick with Reese, but at minus 275, I feel like we're looking at a 50-50 fight, man. At open, minus 300. Zach Reese is not that good. It's just, I think he's a bit snappier with kicks, going to have the physicality edge. And I think in a close one, he could get it over Dumas, but we might be going 3. I think I'm going to go towards Reese, maybe on the cards. I'm going to stick with Zach Reese. Sorry for the freak out, but you guys are getting authenticity from me. I really was having a bit of a fucking existential crisis during that breakdown. Let's get to the next fight. We got Jesus Aguilar versus Luis Gurule. I like Luis Gurule a lot in this fight. His UFC debut definitely didn't go to plan, but it was against Ode Osborne, who was doing great work against Steve Erceg and thudding him up with big shots in round 1, had him hurt. Gurule got knocked out by him. It's not the worst L to have. Complete opposite. It goes from guy with crazy long reach and athleticism and slickness from the outside for Gurule to now he's fighting Jesus Aguilar, who's got the shortest reach in the UFC outside of the women's divisions, I think, with a 62.5-inch reach. Jesus Aguilar is definitely a dog, but Luis Gurule is strong. Luis Gurule can wrestle for sure. Luis Gurule can mix it up with the hands. Aguilar does bring a weird submission threat, but I don't think Gurule is getting caught. I think that we're going to see a better looking style for Luis Gurule in this one. I think he picks his shots fairly well, attacks the calf a bit, mixes some punches, stays calm, has a little more confidence in this spot. Last time, he was maybe overconfident, to be fair, and he walked into a big one from Ode Osborne. I can't see Jesus Aguilar just thudding him with a big shot and shutting the lights off. I don't see that from Aguilar. I feel like with Jesus Aguilar, he'll try and wrestle a bit, but he also gets taken out. Mendoza was taking him down. I think that Luis Gurule can land big shots and win it on the cards. It could be back and forth. There could be moments for both, but I think the physicality of Gurule is a factor. I think he's a stronger guy. I think his hands are a little sharper. I think his kicks are better. I think his movement's a bit better. I think he's a little bit better of an athlete. But there is the truth that Aguilar's got a lot of grit, does not quit. You got to be ready for 3 hard rounds with him. And I think Luis Gurule is definitely ready for that. And I think he can match Aguilar in pretty much all areas of the game. And I think he can land bigger and better shots on the feet. And I feel like Aguilar might try to wrestle him up a bit. I could see Gurule countering that, even ended up on top for a little, them striking some more. I think Gurule pushes more of the pace throughout the fight, and I think he outworks Aguilar. I like the striking of Gurule. I like his aggressiveness. I like his output. Yeah, he got caught big against Ode Osborne, but the reach of Osborne led him into a perfect shot. Very few guys at flyweight can land a shot like that on Luis Gurule, and I don't think Aguilar is going to have it for him. I think Gurule is going to get a win in his second UFC fight. I like this matchup for him better. Odds for the fight, Gurule, a 2-1 favorite with Aguilar at plus 170. I think that makes sense. I feel like we got a hard 3-rounder between these two going down. I feel like Aguilar, the one thing you can say is he's got like the weird overhand, the weird submission, but Stuart Nickel, debut, ends up checking him big time. One of those results, man. One of those comebacks, you know? And then Estevam, he did well in round 3 against, but to be fair, still was controlled round 1 and 2. Split decision with Mendoza. Mendoza's been a UFC washout, and Mendoza was taking him down. Shannon Ross is, not good. That was 2 years ago. Tyra got a quick sub on him. With Gurule, there's some upside to him at 31, training with Factory X, beat Nick Piccinini, which was a big performance to have in the Contender Series last season. Nick Piccinini was supposed to be the guy getting the sign. Gurule goes out on short notice and just brings the thunder. And then he loses to Osborne in a debut. I think Luis Gurule is going to be ready to go for this second UFC fight, and I'm expecting a pretty good performance. I think Gurule is a bit of a gangster, too. I feel like he lands some hard shots, and I think he wins the battle against Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar is no walk in the park for anybody. I think we're going 3 hard, but I think Luis Gurule is going to be on the right side of a decision on this one. We're going Gurule for the W. Next fight, we got the ladies going after it here. We got Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos. I'm picking the side of Tatiana Suarez. I'm going to believe in her again. And I do think she'll end up winning this and probably fighting the winner of Mackenzie Dern and Jandiroba for the belt then. I think Tatiana Suarez is going to have a clear-cut grappling edge on Amanda Lemos. I see her landing takedowns. I see her threatening from top position, but even if it's not a submission finish, I think Suarez could just maul Lemos on the mat for 3 rounds. Tatiana Suarez is a very good wrestler, and yes, she got completely shut down by Weili Zhang, but Weili Zhang is one of the best female fighters to ever do it. Amanda Lemos is good. Amanda Lemos is a pretty precise striker. She's got nasty power in her hands, especially for the women's weight classes, good explosiveness, nasty leg kicks, even throws up some submission attempts from bottom position herself. But I think when you look at Amanda Lemos on the ground, you see the disparity. Suarez is the girl that ends up on top. Suarez is a lot better at wrestling. And I think that Tatiana Suarez is going to be pretty precise with timing takedowns. I think she'll be backing Amanda Lemos up, controlling her against the cage. And I do think Lemos is getting out-muscled on the mat. I see Tatiana Suarez with a quality performance and probably a title shot earning win in this one. Now, for Amanda Lemos, you look here, Verna Jandiroba caught her with the sub. Obviously, Verna fighting for the belt and then beat Lucindo. That was actually like a pretty good performance to take out Lucindo, who's a quality prospect. But Lucindo is still more of a striker, though she brings a bit of, the takedown game. Lemos caught her early in the career. Fight before that, back and forth with Mackenzie Dern. Dern fighting for the belt. If Dern were to win the belt, then Lemos 1 year. Definitely could see her fight for the belt. Weili Zhang handled her for the world title, as she did Tatiana. But that was Tatiana's first loss, man. It seemed like Tatiana's been poised to become a women's champion forever. And now with Weili moving up in weight, the chance could definitely be here if she's able to perform to her best. Like, I really think Tatiana Suarez just maybe underestimated just how good Weili Zhang's grappling defense is. I think in this spot, she is going to be able to bulldoze those takedowns. Even when she has to just use some muscle and strength, she'll be able to drag Lemos to the mat. I think Suarez controls from top position. She could grind out a win, but there is a possibility of her finding a submission on Amanda Lemos. Like, I think she could potentially get a choke in, maybe a second or third round, takes the back of Lemos, throwing some ground and pound. I expect a motivated Suarez to come out hard here and look to prove a point and a chance to get back into the mix. I mean, this division in essence is literally wide open right now. The strawweight division, I mean, the Jandaroba versus Dern winner, there'll be question marks around. Like, even if Jandaroba wins, a Suarez could be a really bad matchup for her. And I like the idea of those two fighting. If Dern is to win, my God, Lemos or Suarez, bad matchups. Even, some girls on the come up now could be bad matchups. I think Tatiana Suarez getting the hand raised. I think she out grapples Lemos. And I think she's live for a sub, though I'm not crazy about guaranteeing it and chasing it. Suarez, 4-1 is a really big favorite. She's a bit of an oversized favorite. You're paying the juice price here, but it's because there is the clear disparity in wrestling between the two. Suarez is a lot better at takedowns, and she does have good control. Like, don't jump off the Suarez ship just because Weili shut her down, Plus 330 for Amanda Lemos on the other side. What's the over here? Over 2.5, minus 105. I don't even like the over. Suarez could lock up a sub on Lemos, but she could end up just winning positional control. It's 5 wins by sub. Lemos been subbed how many times? Twice. Jessica Andrade subbed her, and and Jandaroba subbed her. I like the striking a lot of Lemos, but I just don't see her keeping her on the feet. I think she's taken down. I think she's controlled on the mat. I think she's dominated a bit, and I think she might even get gassed. I'm going to lean towards Suarez with a sub in the second or third round. I think that she could fatigue Amanda Lemos, beat on her a little bit from top position, and I think Lemos is going to have a hard time staying upright in this fight here. Her striking's good. She's an explosive kickboxer with danger on the feet every single time, but I think Suarez is the anti-striker, and I think she's getting Lemos on her back, flattening her out, fatiguing her, and then probably subbing her. So I'm going to go Suarez to get it done in this one. I think she can win. Next fight, we got Claudio Puelles versus Joaquim Silva. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it again. I'm picking Claudio Puelles to snap the losing streak. I've said to myself, I'm never picking guys that pull guard again. Oh, but I just can't pick against Puelles here because his losses in comparison to this matchup really aren't that bad. He lost to Dan Hooker, who's, top 10 on fire right now, at the very least in contention for the BMF belt. And then, he had the knee bar locked in that fight. Dan Hooker doesn't tap, but there was still damage done to his leg. And then a loss against Fares Ziam, but was competitive with Fares, had top position in that fight, landed takedowns. Claudio Puelles looked pretty good in moments. I get it, though. He looked bad with Dan Hooker. He got fucked up. But Joaquim Silva at 36 is not a Dan Hooker. Silva is pretty explosive. He's a powerful, aggressive puncher. He rocked Jakar close in their fight. He brings good aggression. He has, obviously, the nickname Neto BJJ. His ground skills are solid. And he's a very, physicality-based grappler. Explosive, athletic, and strong. Puelles is sneakier, though. And I'd say, to be fair, Puelles, he's underrated. It's easy to shit on him because of the bad performances, but styles make the fights, and also the level of opposition is key. Puelles hasn't fought in a year and a half, which isn't necessarily a great look, but he's young, 29 years old. I think he still has some upside. And the other end has been a year and 4 months for Silva, and I would say the layoff, a year and 4 months for a 36-year-old, a lot worse for him than a 29-year-old. I think Puelles with a layoff like that, it's kind of, in some senses a net positive, right? He's taking his time. He's improving his skills. And then, okay, it doesn't come together. We had a withdrawal in March for Joaquim Silva. Kind of, a red flag when you got a guy in his 30s, especially 36, pulls out of a fight earlier in the year, hasn't fought in a year and 4 months, coming off of a loss, even though he rocked Jakar close in the final round. He got outworked in that fight. Win against Clay Guida by decision. That's fair, but, on the other end, Clay Guida win For Puelles is his most recent W2, and he subbed him up, but it was 3 years ago. My God, he has not won since he was like 26. That's kind of crazy. Puelles, he was on fire for a little bit and then two rough losses in a row. But I think that he comes back into this matchup and I think he can win. I do. Joaquim Silva, Sarukian killed him, but that's a fair loss. Sarukian's a beast, and he still landed hard early. He beat Jesse Ronson. That's obscure. Rick Glenn knocked him out 4 years ago. That was a fucking crazy fluke. Rick Glenn with a big performance in that one. I think that Claudio Puelles can win the grappling battle. I think Puelles can land takedowns. I think he can get on top. I think he can win the positional war. I think Silva could have big moments of explosion, but he's 36. He hasn't fought in a while either, but I got to go with the younger man with more upside, with the sound grappling game. I'm going to say Claudio Puelles pulls through. And if he loses, then, well, it is what it is, man. I picked the guy that pulls guard sometimes. So I might be doing it to myself if he goes out there and loses. Odds for the fight. Claudio Puelles, a slight favorite at -120. He opened up at -155. Joaquim Silva, +100. I think Puelles wins the grappling battle. I think Puelles ends up on top. Over 2.5, -115. I think Claudio Puelles is going to get his hand raised. I see Puelles with an ability to get this fight to where he wants it, which is probably grappling from top position. Joaquim Silva will defend some attempts. He'll be aggressive, fighting back. And I know people will say, oh, but Joaquim Silva's a more powerful striker. True. But I just think that he could get himself into trouble on the mat. Even though the nickname is Neto BJJ, he's very explosive. Joaquim Silva, he can grapple, but he's only got 3 sub wins. Like, he's a good Brazilian fighter, but how good is his grappling really, you know? I think Puelles could take him to the mat. I think Puelles can get on top. I think Puelles can threaten with submissions. And I got to go with a guy at 29 that might look a lot better in a year and a half. And Fares Ziam loss is fine. Look what Fares Ziam did to Mike Davis. And I consider Mike Davis pretty good. I think Claudio Puelles is getting his hand raised. And I think he rights the wrongs and gets back on track. I'm going with Puelles to get his first win in nearly 3.5 years as he beats the 36-year-old Joaquim Silva. Next fight, feature prelim. We got Jose Medina versus Dushko Todorović. I don't know if this bout order is going to hold. I don't think it will. I'm assuming they'll change it. But regardless, I think Dushko Todorović snaps his 3-fight losing streak. But talk about matching up two of the worst guys on the middleweight roster right now. At one point, though, and this is, kind of sad to say, but Dushko Todorović had hype for a bit. Knocked out Michel Pereira outside of the UFC. Like, he was supposed to be a problem coming into the UFC and then just not. Completely not. 1-4 over his last 5. Lost the last one to Zach Reese by decision 3 months ago, but he had a couple of striking moments. But that's why I'm thinking Reese could win a decision, though, even with Dumas, because he was able to pull through on the cards here with Todorović. But, enough on that fight. My God, I'll keep rambling about that fight going back and forth. Mansour Abdul-Malik handled him bad. He got injured against Leroy Duncan. Hasn't really looked the same since the injury, but a little better against Reese. Win was against fucking Jordan Wright, but Jordan Wright beat his ass in the first round, and then Chidi destroyed him as well. Medina on the opposite side should have never been signed to the UFC. He lost on Contender Series against Magomed Gaziesulov, who's no longer with the promotion, who was released from the UFC, and then came into the UFC, and Zach Reese beat him. Both these guys got decision losses to Zach Reese. Medina showed guts in that fight. And then he fought Ateba Gautier 5 months ago, and he got killed. Gautier is actually really good. And Medina got, a bit exposed in that matchup. Yes, he's durable, but, you got to have some skills with it. Now, battle of durability, I favor Medina, but, he really doesn't offer much. His striking is okay, kind of sloppy with his kickboxing, but he's aggressive. He'll throw hard hooks. He'll rip overhands and pressure with his stiff stance, and he'll eat shots on the return. Todorović is definitely a bit sharper in the striking, but he's sloppy too with some fat on his punches. I think Todorović could end up in top position. I think he could take Medina down. My God. Both of these guys are pretty bad. This right here is really a loser leaves town type of fight. They're blessing these guys, both of them, with another chance. I was sure that Medina and Todorović were on the chopping block after recent losses, but I guess not. They're giving both of them one more opportunity. I'm going to say that Dushko Todorović gets it. I think he could pull through with some grappling. I think he could do okay in the striking and land. It's just Jose Medina does have the grit factor, and it would be like the true Rocky story. He pulls out a later stoppage, but I think Todorović wins the decision. I see him landing some takedowns. He can wrestle a little bit. He's not that good at wrestling. He can wrestle a bit. He can land some punches. My gosh. Yeah, this is true journeyman warfare between the two. Let's find out who stays on the roster. I mean, shit, even a win for either one, they could let either one of these guys go. But Dana really likes Jose Medina. That's why he's giving him a chance against Dushko. And I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's hoping that he pulls through because he signed him after a dominant loss to Magomed Gadzhiesulov on Contender Series. But it was up at light heavyweight. I feel like we'll see Todorović do a bit more. He still knocked out Michel Pereira at one point. Like, Dushko's got UFC wins. Beat Maki Pitolo by stoppage. Daquan Townsend. My God, he really hasn't beaten anybody good. But he beat Michel Pereira in 2018. That right there is his claim to fame. Inside of the UFC, it's been shit. Hey, he went the distance against RoboCop. That deserves some respect. Took some big shots in that fight. I'm going to say Dushko Todorović can win. I'll say it on the judges' scorecards. I think he ends up in top position. I think he beats Medina. He's a 3-1 favorite in the spot here against Medina. I see why. He's got more skills, but he definitely doesn't have more heart. Medina's got like literally only heart. That's the only reason he's in the UFC is he's really tough. Over a round and a half, minus 239. I think it's live. It depends, though. I mean, Medina gets knocked out bad against a Tubba Gautier. The chin could never be the same after a violent loss like that. But I'll say Todorović doesn't have the pop to put him away in that type of manner. So I'm going to go decision win, Dushko Todorović. On the judges' scorecards, a little bit better in the technical elements and striking. And I think definitely better at wrestling and grappling. Yeah, I'm going to go with Todorović to beat Medina. But hey, respect to Medina. I hope he puts up a decent fight. But my God, he probably should not be on the roster. Let's get to the main card. Starting it off, we got Santiago Luna versus Quang Le. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Santiago Luna stepping in on short notice, replacing David Martinez, who's now in the co-main event, against Quang Le, who's, now a UFC veteran. The pick here, I'm going to go with my guy, Quang Le. I do think he can win. Even though he's a 33-year-old prospect, he still has nearly double the pro experience of Santiago Luna. He's got a good amount of amateur experience. He just controlled Gaston Bolanos and subbed him, and he looked pretty good in that fight. I think he demands some respect. Fight before that, yeah, Long Shao knocked him out, and that hasn't aged well. Long Shao, not that good, but, Su Young Yu also, who beat up Long Shao, is quality. And then Chris Gutierrez, he actually put up a good fight against in a short notice debut. Like, Quang Le has some bit of skill. He's got some takedowns. He can mix it up on the feet a bit, has a bit of knockout power, has some aggressiveness to his game. Not the cleanest striker, but I'd say he's sound for the most part defensively. Can bring a little danger with his power shots and definitely can mix in some takedowns. Now, Santiago Luna is the essence of unproven prospect, 21 years old, but a lot of upside. It's just... I got to go with Quang Le. I got to pick my guy. I just don't know about Santiago Luna at all. Like, even watching fights, it's like, okay, last fight, 4-6 fighter. Beat a 6-1 dude. But to be fair, besides having the V at the end of the name, guy had lost to like a 6-9 dude 3 fights prior. Beat a 3-1 prospect. Like, he's beaten some talent. But I will tell you, from watching Santiago Luna, I gathered some information. The kid's a good athlete. Very aggressive style with good takedowns, a good ability to throw hard shots and land pressure punches and back people up, take them down, beat them up, control, get the knockout, finds the way, does not wilt, does not quit, brings a lot of pressure, and he's a fun style, right? He's an aggressive prospect, Mexican fighter. Obviously, the Mexican fighters tend to bring thunder. He's a high-volume prospect, too. He's got good output. But I just don't know. How's he going to fare when he fights somebody that's actually got some skills, that's in, a room with, John Castaneda, who's got a takedown, who's got some takedown defense, who can kickbox fairly well, who can mix it up on the feet decently. Quang Le is all right. I'm not saying he's a world beater, but he does have power. He does have submission threats. He does have MMA experience at a decent level. Like, you have to respect, even outside of the UFC, he's still fighting in LFA. Whereas Santiago Luna, he's getting matchups that definitely favor him. A 4-6 fighter last time to now jump into the UFC on short notice against Quang Le. I just feel like it could be biting off more than he can chew. fight is scheduled for bantamweight. Santiago Luna's last fight was at 145. Is this something to worry about? He was fighting at bantamweight before. But there is something to worry about here with him stepping in on short notice, last two fights being featherweight fights, and he's doing this fight at bantamweight against Quang Le, unless that's a mismark. Unless that's a mismark and that fight takes place in a different weight class. Because sometimes, Tapology messes it up. Now you got me nervous. I got to double check this stat because I want to see. But I'm 99% sure that Tapology's on point, that they're not lying to us. Let's see if they even have the Quang Le fight on the UFC's website because, if you know the UFC, they don't always, bantamweight fight, Santiago Luna. So Luna stepping in, a big chance, fighting at 135 on short notice, where his last two fights have been at 145. There's also an element to that we have to bring into the argument. Like, it's not a guarantee he can make weight. It's not a guarantee this fight happens when you have a guy stepping on short notice like this who's young. Like, I feel like he could drain himself out, but he could be fatigued. And then Quang Le could outmuscle him. He can't push that same pace. So there's intangibles around this matchup that I feel are worth mentioning too, besides just the fact that Luna has not fought at this level. He also has his most recent fights at featherweight. And he's stepping in on short notice, fighting down at bantamweight. Does he make the weight? We'll find out. If he does make the weight, how does he look? Does he drain himself down, crash diet, and just feel like shit and then put out, a gutsy effort but get controlled? Does Quang Le dominate him on the ground and just outmuscle him? Because Quang Le was ready to go. All right? He was preparing for this spot. Quang Le, he was preparing for David Martinez. He was preparing for a really scary striker. Now he fights a guy with, a decent game and a well-versed prospect on the rise, but what level of opposition? And I'm sure Quang Le was planning takedowns to take on, David Martinez. I feel like I got to favor Quang Le to find a way. I'm going to go with him. I don't think it's a walk in the park, even against Santiago Luna on short notice. I think he's a decent prospect, but I can't go with unproven 21-year-old. I have to go with the veteran at this point now. And Quang Le to get the hand raised. He's an underdog too. Quang Le opened at minus 135, but he's dog money. Santiago Luna looks good, but is he that good? I'm going with Quang Le. I think he might get a submission. It could be a decision. It could be a submission. We'll see how the short notice replacement fares. We'll find out about his gas tank. We're going to see the weight cut. Definitely something that Friday's show, the weigh-in recap, is going to hold importance to, is seeing Santiago Luna weigh in. I want to see how he looks taking this fight on short notice at 135, where his last two have been up and weight at 45. Because that's an element of the fight too. And Quang Le is a legit bantamweight. He went 3 rounds with Chris Gutierrez. Yes, he lost to Long Xiao, but he's coming off a nice win last time against a really good kickboxer in Gaston Bolaños, and he showed some striking in that fight as well. I'm picking Quang Le to win, and he might finish too. I'm going with the underdog. I'm going Quang Le. I'm curious to see where the lines are at as the week goes on. Next fight on the card, we have Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira. I'm going to pick the side of Alexander Hernandez. I'm doing it. Yes, him knocking out Chase Hooper's got me jumping ship. You know why I'm picking Alexander Hernandez? I think it's for a bit of MMA math reasons, all right? The kryptonite to Diego Ferreira has always been his arch nemesis, Beneil Dariush. He lost to him twice. Carlos Diego Ferreira struggles in that fight. Alexander Hernandez, yes, it was a dirty move, but he knocked him out in his UFC debut. I'm actually kind of just trolling, but I do think Alexander Hernandez, he's quietly doing pretty damn well at 155. Like, it's easier to look at the spotty record over the last several fights, but at lightweight, he's won 4 fights in a row. And I think the Chase Hooper win showcased the power, looked pretty dangerous on the feet, got a quick KO. Hooper got absolutely destroyed. And he's coming off that win 3 weeks ago. Carlos Diego Ferreira was supposed to fight Bobby Green on that same card. Green pulls out, fight doesn't happen. They got a rescheduling here. But Hernandez is coming into this fight with some strong momentum, I feel. And Carlos Diego Ferreira, it worries me a bit. I was not overzealous about saying, hey, guys, yeah, bet him against Bobby Green. I was like, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I think he wins. I'll pick him. But in the back of my mind, he's 40 years old. Last time he got handled bad against Grant Dawson. But, like, the Rebeshki win was badass. To be fair, though, he did absorb a lot of damage early in that fight. Beat Michael Johnson with a sick knockout 2 years ago. Diego Ferreira has had a couple of nice wins, and then he had a dominant loss most recently. But he's fighting a Hernandez that's got a strike speed advantage. It's not like Hernandez can't grapple. Hernandez's takedown defense is pretty sharp. Hernandez's kickboxing's not bad. He's coming together. I hate to say it, man. I like Carlos Diego Ferreira, but I think Alexander Hernandez is going to be a bit cleaner in the striking. I think he's going to land some solid shots. I feel like Diego Ferreira could press forward and look to grapple. And, like, I get the mentality of picking Diego Ferreira. I will say he's only picked by 42%, but he's an underdog, and I get the intrigue on the underdog side here for Diego Ferreira. I do. I definitely do. His ground skills are legit. Plus 122, Diego Ferreira. But Alexander Hernandez is not a bad grappler. He has one submission loss as a pro. It was against Money Moicano, and it was in 2022. He's 32, nearly 33, in his prime. We got a 40-year-old on the other side. Diego Ferreira's prime was a while ago, and he's been able to have some wins, but I just don't feel good about it. Something tells me Alexander Hernandez, riding the momentum of winning so violently 3 weeks ago, is going to look better here. And now you might be saying to yourself, oh, but what about weight cutting again? Hernandez has fought at 45. He looks a lot better at 55. He's not the biggest 55er, but he's about the same size as Diego Ferreira, riding high off big momentum of a nice knockout. There's an element of the mental side. I feel like you'd have to assume Alexander Hernandez feels untouchable right now. And then on the side of Diego Ferreira, where's he at? I don't know. I don't know where Diego Ferreira is at. He was supposed to fight Bobby Green. That fight didn't happen. Last time he got handled by Grant Dawson. Yes, he's had some nice wins, but he's 40 years old. I don't know what's left. And to be fair, you know, he hasn't won as a 40-year-old before. You can fall off fast when you hit that 40 mark. I'm going to say Alexander Hernandez, momentum being a big element, is going to be my pick. I didn't think I'd do it. I've faded Hernandez in the past. I've shit on Hernandez in the past. But I have to put some respect in performance against Chase Hooper and think about this matchup logically. When I look at the kickboxing, Hernandez should be okay. Diego Ferreira has some power, but he's not the quickest striker. Speed, Hernandez. So I will favor striking from range, Hernandez. Maybe pure power, Diego Ferreira, but Hernandez can crack a little too. And we've seen Diego Ferreira hurt on the feet before as well. Jiu-Jitsu Ferreira, but the wrestling side, not over convinced he's dragging Hernandez to the ground. Maybe he's looking to jump his back against the cage. I'm going to go with Alexander Hernandez to pull through. He might knock Diego Ferreira out. I could see him catching him. I could see Diego Ferreira getting caught with a big straight. Minus 142 for Hernandez. Diego Ferreira plus 122. We don't have an over or anything like that yet, but I do think Hernandez's speed is a factor in this fight. I'm going with Factory X as well. I'm picking him with Gurule. I'm picking him with Hernandez here. Diego Ferreira at 40. Fight canceled 3 weeks ago. Where's his head at? How's he feeling? Is he overtrained now? Because at 40, I mean, he may be perfectly lined up to camp. Then he had to do 3 more weeks, keep that weight down. How's the body feeling? I'm going to say that Alexander Hernandez could find a way. I think he might get a knockout, but decision wouldn't shock me. I'm going to go with Hernandez for the W. Next fight, we have a really weird one. Kelvin Gastelum versus Dustin Stoltzfus. This fight just weirds me out because Kelvin Gastelum gave Israel Adesanya a war years ago for the interim belt. Fought Robert Whittaker, Chris Weidman. My God, who else? Jacare Souza. He's fought everybody. I could keep going. Darren Till. He's fought tons of elite guys. Even recently fought Joe Pyfer. And now he fights Dustin Stoltzfus, who I thought at one point was going to be a UFC washout, but managed to, you know, put some wins together. I'm picking Kelvin Gastelum, but I'm worried because he is washed. But one thing that has not gone is his durability. Took bombs from Joe Pyfer. Pyfer couldn't get him out of there. Still went 3 hard against a terrifying up-and-comer in Joe Pyfer, known for violent knockouts, and who had a huge physicality advantage over him. Kelvin Gastelum is a tricky southpaw. He can definitely box a bit, definitely could still wrestle. I feel like he's still got some hand speed. Against like a slower guy like Dustin Stoltzfus, I think Gastelum could land some nice straight lefts. Dustin Stoltzfus is truly like a karate specialist. Very much like that lead hand high stance, karate-esque flow. Okay punches, rips his shots in close, but can get a little sloppy. Not the most athletic guy. A bit awkward even on the feet. Has a bit of ground skills, though. His jiu-jitsu's not bad. Wrestling is not bad. He's bigger. He's 6 foot to Gastelum at 5'9", but when is Gastelum bigger than anybody at middleweight? He's got the reach advantage, but when does Gastelum have a reach advantage at middleweight? I think Kelvin Gastelum could end up getting it on the cards here with Dustin Stoltzfus. But the fact that I have to ponder between who wins between Gastelum and Stoltzfus just tells me like how far Kelvin Gastelum has fallen from grace from the heyday, guys. My God, I remember when Kelvin was on fire. Could we get a Kelvin Gastelum reminiscent of the past here? Maybe. He's faster than Stoltzfus with his hands. He's got the wrestling to stop Stoltzfus' takedown game. Stoltzfus is a bit of a bully. He's got some physicality, but okay, beat Punahele Soriano. Soriano's now down at welterweight for good reason. Got outsized big time there. Lost to Bruno Ferreira, but had a couple moments against Bruno. Marc-Andre Barrios knockout was sensational. And then Rizzy Boyev in a competitive one last time. It's not crazy to go Stoltzfus, which it's crazy to say that for me, though, as somebody that's watched Kelvin Gastelum since The Ultimate Fighter. The fact that I'm pondering between who wins is sad. But I think Kelvin Gastelum can get his 20th pro win. I think he can keep the win-loss streak going for himself. I think he can get it in a close one on the judges' scorecards. I think he lands some straight shots. I see that left hand coming through. I don't think Stoltzfus is taking Gastelum down and bullying him. I think Gastelum could even win the battle of takedown. I think in striking, Stoltzfus has some moments with kicks and maybe some awkward punches, but I think Gastelum probably lands some better shots. Prepare to be potentially underwhelmed, but I'm going to say Gastelum hands raised in this one. But there is the red flag on it because Kelvin Gastelum can't keep his diet in check for fuck. It just can't happen. And that's why he didn't reach the level that he could have, I feel. Because he was a welterweight problem, but he became a good middleweight. And now he's a middleweight past his prime who's been fighting forever. But I'm going to say Gastelum can still win. It's crazy, right? Because Gastelum feels like the old dude here, but they're the same age. It's just Gastelum has had so many more wars at a high level. But I'll say Gastelum can pull through. Only 2 months ago, though, Joe Pyfer, I guess 3 months ago, Joe Pyfer dropping him. Gastelum coming back quick for Noche. I got to pick KG. I see him landing straight lefts, guys. I see him timing a takedown or two. I see him getting on top. I see him winning a close one against Stoltzfus, but too close for comfort. I think Stoltzfus has a couple moments. His front kicks, kicks to the body, awkward straight shots. But Gastelum should be able to get the hand raise at the end of it. I'll go Gastelum on the cards. Gastelum is a minus 250 favorite. Stoltzfus plus 210. Fair, I guess. Over 2.5, minus 150. Probable. I'll say Gastelum by decision. Kelvin Gastelum making me consider picking Stoltzfus. His chin is really good. Hard to put Gastelum away. You can drop him, but putting his lights out is a rarity. Never happened before. And Kelvin Gastelum, I think he can still box a bit, and I think he can find some left hands. You know, took on Joe Pyfer. That was a really hard fight in the most recent one. I look at this matchup, and it seems a lot more winnable. I'm going to say Kelvin Gastelum on the cards, hand raised. Next fight, featured fight of the night. We got Jared Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. I'm picking Jared Gordon to win. I actually really like the Jared Gordon pick in this fight. He's a lot more versatile with his hands than Rafa Garcia. Garcia's kind of basic with his punches. Has a decent enough kickboxing game, but not a lot of power. Also going to be shorter than Jared Gordon. Jared Gordon not going to have the reach on him, but I do think he can land better shots in boxing range. He's got better punch combinations. I think he's quicker on the feet. Definitely a problem. I mean, he could have won against Nasrat. That was a coin flip decision. You look at what he's done. He's got a KO over Thiago Moises, KO over Mark Madsen. Even the Bobby Green fight 2 years ago, he was winning before the head clash. Then he lost to Paddy Pimblett by a bullshit decision. In a perfect world, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. I think that Jared Gordon is still pretty good. And at 37, he's got one of those late primes that he said. He's been in the UFC for a really long time. Rafa Garcia, 31, but just never blows me away. Beat Vince Pichel, but an aging Pichel, and he won, but it wasn't like a wow type performance. Lost badly to Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson's very good. Clay Guida decision, but Guida passed the prime. Machate decision, Machate not good. Jakar Close lost. Jakar Close is a savage. Jakar Close is a good pressure fighter. I think Jared Gordon can box up Rafa Garcia. I don't see Rafa getting him to the ground. I think Gordon's takedown defense is real solid. And then I think boxing combinations, Gordon's landing flush. I'll be honest, Jared Gordon could catch Rafa Garcia and put his lights out. Now, it's Noche. He's a Mexican fighter. I think Rafa's going to have a lot of grit in the fight, but I definitely think Gordon boxes him up. I mean, Rafa Garcia, didn't he lose to Chris Grutzmacher? Yeah, he did. Back in 2021, Grutzmacher boxed his face off. And I know it's been a long time since then, but it's still Rafa Garcia. I don't think he has a chance with Jared Gordon here. I think Gordon's going to style on him. I think Gordon should be a lock in this fight. I feel like he boxes him up big time. Way better with punch combinations. Way better in close. Faster. More comfortable on the feet. Smoother on the feet. Like boxing combinations, Gordon's got levels above Rafa Garcia. Garcia a bit more basic. Decent straights. Okay hooks. But like, I don't know. Sometimes one or two shots at a time. Gordon can string together a few. And Gordon's more accurate too. With a good pressure style. And a good grappling defensive game. And, you know, if Rafa's looking to shoot, I don't see him getting Gordon down. Gordon's pretty strong, too, in the clinch. We saw it against Patty. Easily could have got that decision. Patty Bless pulls through, and now look at Patty becoming a contender. But, yeah, Jared Gordon, underrated guy as far as the UFC lightweight division goes. I think he looks proper in this matchup here. Very winnable fight. Jared Gordon should pull through. Minus 240 is actually not bad odds. He opened at minus 185. That's great. I think Jared Gordon handles. Plus 205 for Rafa Garcia. I see it as the Jared Gordon fight. Over 2.5 is minus 300. Lately, Jared Gordon's been showing power. For a long time, it was Mr. Decision. But over the recent performances, I mean, accuracy was crazy with Mark Madsen. He knocked him out. Beat the shit out of Thiago Moises and knocked his ass out. I feel like a knockout for Jared Gordon is a possible outcome. But even if not, I think he boxes Rafa Garcia's face off so much better with straight hands. I'm excited for this Jared Gordon fight. I think he's going to go out and look good. I think Rafa Garcia is getting tuned up on the feet. And I think Gordon, hand raised for sure. I definitely like it as a parlay piece. Gordon for the W. Next fight on the card. It's the co-main event of the evening. Rob Font versus David Martinez. Ooh. Martinez filling in for Raul Rosas on short notice and gets literally the chance of a lifetime, but kind of a picture perfect situation. Ugh. I think I'm going to pick David Martinez here, guys. And it's crazy because Rob Font's ranked in the top 10 of the UFC bantamweight division, or top 11 according to Tapology, and I'm picking against him. And Martinez is only 1-0 in the UFC, but I like his style. David Martinez is a very fluid kickboxer. Good ability to close distance with punches and kicks, but also dangerous kicks from the outside to the legs, to the body, to the head. Very fluid with his movement. And the guy's not just a fighter. He's a doctor by day. This man is cerebral, okay? So taking this fight on short notice, he's got to be looking at the matchup saying, okay, Rob Font had some trouble with John Matsumoto, and he got lucky that decision went his way. And listen, Rob Font was my savage dog lock that week. But I know, if not for the bullshit glove touch into the punch, Rob Font probably loses on the judges' scorecards there. I think David Martinez striking is really sound. He's a slick kickboxer. He's got a very skillful game, nasty ability to strike from distance, but a nasty ability too to dart on the inside, good mobility and speed. He's a blue chip prospect, but he's unproven at a good level. But to be fair, he looked badass against Simon Oliveira and absolutely destroyed him. Now, got a dominant decision here against Xavier Franklin. You might be like, oh, but he only beat Franklin by a decision. Okay, true. Franklin's come off a win recently, and but the contender series spot, you got to assume there were some big jitters there. Still got signed. I mean, his striking still looks sound as hell. And it's not like Rob Font's been looking amazing lately. Rob Font last time, blessed. He got the decision against Matsumoto. It easily could have went the other way. John Matsumoto absolutely made it a dogfight. Late, Font was, touching him up with some good straights and had Matsumoto bleeding bad. And that's an impressive win to beat Matsumoto. 6 months ago, Font's 38. He ain't any younger. Beat Kyler Phillips before that, but Kyler Phillips, not that good. To be honest with you, Kyler Phillips was immensely overrated because of a win over the washed Pedro Munoz, and we all overrated him, My fault too. Lost to Figueiredo, lost to Sandhagen, and a win over Adrian Yanez nearly 2.5 years ago. That was the last time where I felt like Rob Font really looked himself. I think that Rob Font has slowed down considerably over the past year. And I know some of you might say, oh, but he still handled Kyler Phillips. Yeah, but then he looked worse against Matsumoto. Oh, but it's a short notice Matsumoto. Yeah, and it's a short notice David Martinez here. Rob Font was preparing for the pressure wrestling attack of Raul Rosas. Now the matchup is completely flipped to a dangerous striker. You're like, oh, but Font's a striker. He can adapt easier. Not necessarily. David Martinez is a master of 8 limbs. Like, he throws good shots with every limb that he has. His elbows are actually not bad. Knees to the body are there, but his kicks and his punches are very sound, okay? With good timing, good lateral movement, the karate background, which you'll notice it with like high-level karate guys. They have a very good ability to dart in and out of range. Now, Rob Font normally has a very good jab, but I think a lot of you might agree with me in the comments. You can let me know if I'm reaching here. I think he has been less accurate with his jab than ever before in his most recent fight, especially. I think that Rob Font is past his best days. And I think that David Martinez, I know it's too much too soon. I know. But is it too much too soon, meaning he can't win? Or is it like too much too soon that with a win here, he's going to have to fight the killers of the top 15? This is a blue chip 27-year-old prospect to watch. He's a special fighter. He's a doctor and he's a fighter. Like, there's something about David Martinez, and I get it. The doctor, Ming Shi, just lost to Bruno Brazil. Different. I think David Martinez striking is a factor here. I like his kicking game a lot. I think he can chop at the legs of Rob Font, stay moving, explode into range. I think his physicality can match Rob Font in the clinch and in the grappling exchanges. I don't see Rob Font jabbing David Martinez's head off either. I haven't seen that Rob Font in a long time. I don't know if he's still there. And to be fair, New England fighters are sucking right now. Let's also mention that. The New England fighters are really not doing well as of late. I think that David Martinez is going to pull off an upset. I'm watching for his high kicks. I think he could hurt Rob Font with a high kick. David Martinez with a dangerous high kick threat stifles the game on the outside a bit of Rob Font. David Martinez with his ability to dart into range and land big shots. I think David Martinez could be okay in the clinch and on the ground for sure. I don't think Rob Font's out wrestling him. I think it's a striking fight. And to imagine Rob Font just piecing up David Martinez, this Rob Font, and just boxing his face off, I don't think so. Maybe Rob Font 3 years ago. But now, I can't do it. I think David Martinez is improving at a fast rate. Simón Oliveira performance. I get it. Simón Oliveira is a bum, but he looks sensational. The guys look great on the regional scene. He's a problem. He's a Mexican fighter. The Mexican spirit is here. He's got the chance of a lifetime to break into the top. Noche UFC, there's going to be a result that makes you say, wow. And I think it's David Martinez upsetting Rob Font in a short notice fill-in. I'm going with David Martinez here. Something spoke to me about this matchup that he finds openings, and I can see it in the striking. I think he could threaten Rob Font. I think he could attack the legs. I think he could land punches in close. I think he could be dangerous with body kicks. I think he could threaten with the high kicks and throw Rob Font's rhythm off. I think he could attack the high kicks just to damage the arms of Rob Font, making his boxing less effective. I'm going to go with the underdog. I'm going to go with David Martinez, and he's only a plus 131. What? He opened up at plus 145. It went up to plus 180. Now it's plus 131. Close money lines here. Damn, David Martinez getting respect. In my brain, I was thinking, all right, plus 185. I'm like, all right, it's got to be 2-1 by now. No. Rob Font minus 151. Listen, it's dangerous to bet on somebody unproven at a high level. I'm not telling you go out and gamble on it. If you want to, you can. What I'm telling you is what I think is going to happen. I think David Martinez is a sophisticated striker. I think David Martinez is sound in the stand-up game. And I think Rob Font is slower than ever before, past his prime. And I think now is the time for David Martinez to pull off the upset win, especially a Rob Font who is preparing for a grappler throughout camp. David Martinez for the upset in the co-main event to make the Mexican people more than proud. It's not a Rocky moment because it's not like Martinez is a bum, but it has that feel, right? Unproven, but hungry up-and-comer who seems to have an elite skill set in striking, seems to be somebody to watch. I mean, everybody's been keeping their eye on David Martinez. I think most of us can agree. The matchup against Quang Lee, I mean, he was expected to smash Quang Lee. I'm going with David Martinez here. Without a wrestling threat on the Rob Font side, I think David Martinez could get into a nasty striking flow, and I'm going to pick him to pull through. I think knockout is a possibility, but I'm going to lean towards a Martinez hard fought decision, hand raised, and I think Rob Font got karma coming against him because that fake glove touch into the punch against Gene Matsumoto. I'm going with Martinez. I think he wins. I'm going to pick him. I think Rob Font's on his way out. Martinez on his way up. Timing and matchups is everything. I'm going with Martinez's side. Let's get to the main event of the evening. If you guys are watching and enjoying, make sure you all hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, welcome to the show. Make sure you guys subscribe. We got Diego Lopes versus Gene Silva in what is probably, at least for Gene Silva, a number one contender fight. I'm picking Gene Silva to win. I get it. Fighting nerds have not been doing well. Look at what happened last week. 0-2 on the Paris card, or I guess last, afternoon. But this is different. This is not the same. Gene Silva is special, guys. He's an elusive striker with knockout power and a rare gift of timing with an unorthodox style while also being a master in gamesmanship. Good feint game, good taunt game, but also loves to touch gloves, high five. And I think the mind games that Gene Silva has is an underrated element. Now, of course, the biggest wins to date are Bryce Mitchell, who's now at bantamweight, and Drew Dober. But look at those performances. Against Dober, I feel like it was a masterclass of precision technique. Remember the spin elbow he landed? Remember how accurate he was on the shots? And Dober is pressing, throwing hard shots. John Silva was incredibly defensively efficient in that matchup. He didn't just blitz out Dober in a round. It went into the third. Like, he showed calm in that fight as well. It's not like John Silva is just a ballistic pressure fighter that needs a first round knockout. He takes his time finding his openings and landing the kill. Against Baghdasaryan, I think it was the masterclass of gamesmanship. Got in Baghdasaryan's head, the feints, the taunts, the high fives, the buddy, and then lands the perfect punch and knocks him out. Against Mitchell, I mean, he showed the masterclass of submission counters, was able to submit the submission threat on the opposite end with the ninja choke. Jean Silva picks his shots incredibly well, and he's also very comfortable fighting off the back foot. I will say this. Look at Diego Lopes versus Volkanovski, and though Lopes was trying to pressure forward, had a very hard time, for the most part. There was moments for him, but he had a hard time winning majority of the striking exchanges, besides a couple big shots, and then he dropped, Volkanovski throughout that fight one time. He had a hard time with the precision on the opposite end. John Silva has the ability to fight off the back foot and counter. I don't want to say it's similar to Volk, but there are comparisons to be made with that style of Volkanovski to John Silva, at least a little bit. Diego Lopes has a good pressure-based style with the tight high guard, and he throws hard shots in the pocket. And if he can turn it into a brawl, he does tend to find shots. But John Silva is very defensively aware in the pocket. We saw it with Drew Dober. He's blocking pretty much everything and then countering back with bigger and better shots. He's got a power edge, an explosiveness edge, and he's got a speed edge. He gets to the target faster, though Lopez's big explosive moments might look fast. As far as accurate and precise speed, it's on the side of John Silva. I would say that John Silva is going to catch Diego Lopes with a lot of counter shots. I think Lopes is going to get stung up from the mid and even sometimes long range by John Silva. He's going to look to put it into the close range in the red zone and win the war in that distance. But I think John Silva, with elbows in close, with strikes, punches too in close range, could find a lot on Diego. I think Diego, simply put, is a little bit too hittable down the center line. Diego has good pressure, but he doesn't have the best head movement, does absorb a fair amount of shots. And I know he's noted as a grappling coach and known for his jiu-jitsu, but he's not this beastly takedown threat. And John Silva's takedown defense, I think, is quite sound. I think Diego Lopes is getting picked apart in this fight. I think he's going to be thudded up with big shots. I think he's going to get busted up in this fight too. I think John Silva is going to be accurate. Yes, Diego Lopes is a great chin. Yes, he never quits on himself, and he's got immense pressure that is consistent throughout the fight. All 5 rounds, he's ready for it. But John Silva is going to be landing a lot of big shots, and he's going to bust Diego Lopes up. I'm feeling like John Silva by TKO in the 3rd or 4th round could be live. Potentially, I could even see him slicing Diego Lopes open with an elbow and getting a doctor's stoppage. I see Lopes possibly with a shut eye in this fight or a sliced eyebrow, and then the doctors have to step in. I feel like Silva is the type of fighter that can beat the shit out of you for numerous amounts of time off the back foot and then slowly but surely break you apart and then into the finish. It might not be a one-shot KO against Diego Lopes because he is in great shape. You've seen the pictures of him recently. He's shredded. He's in amazing shape. He's got a great chin. He loves to fight. He's got consistent pressure. He doesn't stop. But he's going to get hit a lot here. He's going to get thudded up with shots a lot here. John Silva to get the hand raised. I'm picking John Silva with confidence in this spot, but I think a KO could happen. Now, I don't know if it's a flash KO. It would be a volume accumulation of damage-based KO in the later stages of the fight, 3rd, 4th round. If it goes to full 5, I'm not shocked, but I'll promise you Diego Lopes is going to have some serious marks on his face. I think he's getting hit a lot. I think he's getting hit a ton in this. John Silva, simply put, too accurate. With his power, with his patience, and with his precision, John Silva is poised to become the #1 contender. And I see him handling business against Diego Lopes. I'm going to lean towards a later stage knockout. Probably a TKO, because it's not like Diego Lopes I see flat out. I mean, if he does, holy shit for John Silva. But it could be the volume and the damage over time, busting him up so bad he goes down, a little ground and pound, the ref jumps in and calls it because blood's everywhere, and it's time to stop. And if it goes to full 5, Diego could absorb and make it a war and try at the end, still throwing hard to the final bell, but taking more damage throughout. John Silva the pick, and I'm feeling good about this main event call. I'm feeling very good. I had the underdog for UFC Paris as my lock in Nasruddin Imavov. I'm feeling confident in the favorite for UFC Noche, or Noche UFC rather. -250 for John Silva, my pick here. +210 for Diego Lopes. I love it for John Silva. I don't think he's the sell of the fighting nerds. I think he is the best of the fighting nerds. He's got an elite level ability to time shots, and he's proven. I like that he can fight off the back foot, man, and he takes his time. He doesn't rush. These are huge elements to beating Diego Lopes. That's why Volkanovski was able to do it. And John Silva's got more pop than Volkanovski. He's more primed than Volkanovski. And I think he's more precise than now Volkanovski. John Silva to win in the main event. I'm going to say TKO. I'm going to say he busts Diego Lopes up. But if it goes to full 5, don't be shocked. It definitely could, because Diego is gutsy and he's got a strong chin. Diego Lopes is no slouch in this game. Diego Lopes is good. Diego Lopes has been stopped before a long time ago. Really long time ago. Knocked out back in 2018. And then I'm assuming one of these regional scene fights. I think in the later stages, John could put his lights out. But it's probably a big shot lands. Diego goes down in a TKO or a doctor's stoppage. Diego Lopes getting flatline would be insane. But John Silva, masterclass, again, is going to be my prediction. I believe in the skills. I believe in the timing. And I think his comfortability on the back foot against a pressure-based fighter like Diego Lopes is going to serve him so well. Those are my predictions for Noche UFC. I'm going with the 28-year-old fighting nerd sensation to put the fighting nerds back on track. They've hit tough times, okay? Last week was rough for them, but this is a different one. I'll put the fighting nerds glasses on for a second here, right? I had to pick them up, man. I'm looking like a mess right now. The tape's falling off and stuff. This is because last week I'm wearing the damage of the fighting nerds taking L's last week. But John Silva going to bring back the confidence for the team. And I do think he's the best of the bunch. And he's going to prove it this Saturday at Noche UFC. Hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. I love you all. Smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. And let me know in the comments. What do you think about my predictions for this Noche UFC card? I want to hear from you guys. Main event, you with it? John Silva's witnesses, it's time. Title fight next? Because that's what I think. If you haven't hit the post notifications, turn them on. You don't want to miss a video or live stream. I got content all week long. I'll be live for this entire card, so keep it locked in on the channel. And if you really enjoyed the show, make sure you share the video too. If you got nothing to say in the comments, just drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you all for watching. I see you all in the next one. Much love. Peace out.